Now it's recording. So I just read the does color make a difference? Now after I read, I think about a couple things. First, if I took this and cut up the paragraphs and mixed it around and put them in different orders, would this story make sense? Kinley. No, it would not make sense, which means it's a time-ordered story. Okay, it's based on an order of events. When you have an order of events, the types of words that we're going to be using to help us summarize are verbs, things you can do. So if I read the first paragraph, Mr. Garza and his fifth grade students were exploring the importance of color in nature and in other places. The color red can give you energy, Mr. Garza explained. Blue can be soothing. He asked the students to describe how the gray color of the classroom walls made them feel. They said that the color was boring and dull. Now, if I'm thinking about that paragraph, I'm going to think of one or two words that describe what that entire paragraph is about, and I want it to be a verb. We've already read the whole story. So, what is the most important part of that story? Blake.
It's kind of like trying to find a new color instead of like a color.
Okay. So they're changing the color in the story, right?
Yeah.
Why are they doing that? Randa? Gray is dull and boring. So that's how they feel. So feel is the verb that we're going to use. So feel is the first word that I'm going to use to help me when I do my summary. Okay, the next paragraph. Could we paint the classroom a different color? One of the students asked. The other students nodded eagerly in agreement. Mr. Garza replied that they would have to ask the principal for permission. He assigned the students the task of meeting with the principal to persuade her to allow them to repaint the classroom. Okay, one word, a verb, that describes kind of what that paragraph is about. Paul, is your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay, what word?
You mean the word in the sentence?
What word would you pick to describe that sentence? What's that paragraph about?
About them so excited about getting their classroom painted a new color.
Okay, they're excited. Cyrus?
They were going to go ask the principal if they could.
They were going to go ask the principal if they could. And there is a great word in that paragraph. Caitlin? Deciding. Cyrus? Persuade. One thing I would say, not everybody's going to pick exactly the same words, okay? But in that paragraph, they're going to try and persuade the principal to get them to change the color. Now we go to the third paragraph. The students were excited when the principal granted permission. They discussed various colors for the classroom walls and finally decided on a soft yellow. The Parents Club donated the paint, rollers, brushes, and other equipment. So, in the course of the story, the most important part from that paragraph, what's one word you would say? What did they do in that paragraph that's important to the story? Miranda?
Make a decision.
Yeah, they decided. They decided what they were going to use for the color. So, next paragraph. Painting day was on Saturday. The students, along with several parents, gathered together. First, they removed everything from the classroom walls. Next, they moved all the furniture to the middle of the room. Then Mr. Garza explained how to proceed with the painting. He urged them to use caution and not spill or waste paint. So, what did they do in that paragraph? One word, a verb. Tommy? Okay. They did rearrange things, but that's not the important part having to do with the story. Caitlin?
They started to paint.
Yeah, they painted. When the work was done, the students were pleased with their accomplishment. The new color brightened the classroom. The principal brought members of the school board to see the classroom. Before long, every classroom in the school had a fresh coat of paint. Now, as I read that paragraph, in my mind, I'm having a little bit more problems figuring out what I'm going to do for my word. I'm going to be honest. So, in that paragraph, what's kind of the most important thing? Caitlin? Okay, all the classrooms look better. Kinley? It's done. I'm going to go with one of the words that's in there, and I'm going to go with pleased. Okay, pleased. They were pleased with their accomplishment. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words that I'm going to use for my summary. Each word is going to be a sentence for me. Okay. So, what is this story about? So I'm going to start typing it. Mr. Garza's students felt that their classroom walls were dull and boring. They wanted to change the color, so they tried to persuade the principal to let them paint the walls of their classroom. So after persuade, I've got decided. The class decided to paint the walls, what did it say? A soft yellow color. On a Saturday, students and adults painted the classroom. The class, when they saw the outcome, the students were pleased. And I'm adding this on my own. This wasn't part of my 5. But to finish it up, they showed the classroom to others, and soon all the classrooms had new paint. So, I took a story that has 5 paragraphs, and I wrote a 6-sentence summary that gives an idea of what the whole thing was about. Okay? So now is when your notebook paper comes into play. We're going to do another summary right now, and we're going to do a summary about the desert monster. Okay? So, what I would like for you to do, the first time through, you're just going to listen. The second time through, you're going to take any notes that you feel like you need to. And then I'm going to give you time to write your summary. Okay? So I'm going to read it once. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to listen. Then I'm going to read it again. And the second time through, you can take notes. And then I'll give you time to write your summary. Okay? Any questions? If you have books out, please put them away. Away. The Desert Monster. Casey woke up with a start. What's that noise? Jonica rubbed her eyes and sat up in the tent. What noise? She asked. Then she heard it too. They grabbed a flashlight and climbed out of the tent, careful not to wake their parents. The desert is home to all sorts of creatures, said Casey. I sure hope we don't find one. You're letting your imagination run wild, Jonica replied, clinging to Casey's shirt. They crept along the path near the campsite. Whoo! Casey aimed the flashlight at the sound. Look! Yelled Jonica. It's a monster with 2 huge arms. It has gigantic eyes and a mouth. The girls dashed back to the tent and hid under the covers. When day broke, they cautiously climbed out of the tent. Maybe the monster's gone, said Jonica. They walked along the path. Then Casey let out a loud laugh. The girls stood before a huge saguaro cactus. Its branches looked like arms. 3 woodpecker holes formed 2 eyes and a mouth. Inside the mouth was a tiny owl. Look at our desert monster now, said Casey with a laugh. There's the story, The Desert Monster. Now I'm going to read it again. As I'm reading, you can take any notes that you need to take. Now, if I cut this up and put it in a different order, would it make sense? No. So you're going to be thinking about verbs that describe this. Now, you don't have to just use verbs. If you come up with other words, that's fine.
So we can write what we feel about it?
It's not what you feel about it. You're just taking notes about what's happening. So then you can write a summary based on the notes that you take. Okay? So, here's the second time through. Casey woke up with a start. What's that noise? Jonica rubbed her eyes and sat up in the tent. What noise? She asked. Then she heard it too. They grabbed a flashlight and climbed out of the tent, careful not to wake their parents. The desert is home to all sorts of creatures, said Casey. I sure hope we don't find one. You're letting your imagination run wild, Jonica replied, clinging to Casey's shirt. They crept along the path near the campsite. Whoo! Casey aimed the flashlight at the sound. Look! Yelled Jonica. It's a monster with 2 huge arms. It has gigantic eyes and a mouth. The girls dashed back to the tent and hid under the covers. When day broke, they cautiously climbed out of the tent. Maybe the monster's gone, said Jonica. They walked along the path. Then Casey let out a loud laugh. The girls stood before a huge saguaro cactus. Its branches looked like arms. 3 woodpecker holes formed 2 eyes and a mouth. Inside the mouth was a tiny owl. Look at our desert monster now, said Casey with a laugh. So there's the story twice. You've got your notes. I would like for you to write a summary, a brief summary, not a retelling, of what happened in the story.
Do you care about spelling?
Spelling doesn't matter. Nope.